Iran, well, we're pending a true promise 3, right? Iran said we will respond. We will respond heavily. It will be a massive blow, a blow bigger than true promise 1 and 2. But they've been quiet after there was a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, it appears to be that Iran used its lack of response as leverage to the ceasefire that happened in Lebanon and the ceasefire that we could be seeing in Gaza soon. And if there is indeed a ceasefire in Gaza, that would mean, well, there's 2 ceasefires happening alongside certain guarantees for the future with the mediators and guaranteeing countries, basically. That would mean the Iranian delay was successful this time. Now, many people blamed Iran previously that they were not successful in their delay because Israel, well, they started to attack more inside of Iran. They targeted the Hezbollah Secretary General. They assassinated senior figures in the Lebanese resistance. And that caused a lot of problems. However, True Promise 2 did come under President Pezeshkian, who many people are doubting as well. And it was a massive blow. It was the biggest missile blow in terms of effect in Israel's history. That was undeniable. And it was over 90% successful, with missiles destroying genocide bases. But now Iran is talking again. So we had a report from the military response is definite. That's according to the Admiral Ali Fadavi. He's saying True Promise 3 operation will take place in revenge for the Israeli attack that took the lives of 4 Iranian servicemen on October 26th. There were other reports that another Iranian from the Iranian army was killed, by the way, which makes the total 5. He said that the attack, the operation, will certainly occur at the definite time and in appropriate circumstances. They will choose the time, they will choose the circumstances. Okay, why are they talking about True Promise 3 all of a sudden? Is that linked to the prospect of reaching a ceasefire in Gaza? Don't forget that the Americans promised the Iranians, after the assassination of the martyr Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, that don't attack Israel now. A ceasefire is just 1 week away. Meaning, well, the Iranian response is indeed linked to the ceasefire attempts. And if it failed before and it succeeds now, that means the delay in response coming from Iran would have succeeded in bringing about a ceasefire, at least when it comes to the knowledge of the Zionists that a response is coming. Everyone in Israel was petrified when Israel carried out, especially True Promise 2. It was a massive blow. Netanyahu was seen shaking at the time. Everyone was petrified. And that's how they understand. That's how Israel understands the language of force. And they don't want to face that again from Iran, because Iran petrified them and it created a new equation. So if Iran would be able to have leverage with this delay to get us to a ceasefire in Gaza, that would be something positive, because there is a ceasefire in Lebanon, a fragile ceasefire, mind you. Israel is still conducting certain attacks, but it's withdrawing at the end of the day. And people need to understand Israel does these things to psychologically manipulate the people, to tell them that, look, we're saying ceasefire, but there is no real ceasefire, so that everyone can think, well, Israel is getting away with everything. Fact of the matter is, we don't have the levels of attacks we've had before. Israel is still withdrawing from Lebanon. And if the argument is, well, Israel is getting a breathing time to rearm and to prepare itself, well, that the same argument applies to the Lebanese resistance, and the same argument will apply to the Palestinian side. And people need to factor in the suffering of the people at the end of the day. People do need ceasefires and people do need a relief, especially when we're talking about the biggest genocide in the 21st century, committed by the most depraved people on earth. who have committed crimes that even Satan himself is ashamed of. So Iran would succeed if they would lead us to a ceasefire, if that delay would lead us to a ceasefire in Gaza. And that could be why they've been delaying it so far. And that could be why they're warning again, because they're reminding Israel, don't try and extract too much in the final phases of the ceasefire, because we have a pending response. And if you do not have a ceasefire that was most likely guaranteed within parameters agreed upon by Hezbollah and Israel within 2 months of the beginning of the ceasefire in Lebanon, there must be a ceasefire in Gaza, and we're still in that time frame, then Iran will be annihilating Israel. Now he's reminding them, we will attack you. We will attack you. So what will happen if, well, we do have a ceasefire? Okay, if we do have a ceasefire, Iran would have, and again, that's not giving Iran excuses, by the way. That's just reading what's happening. Iran would have reason to delay it further. Why? Because they would need to see how much it's implemented. That's number one. Number two, they would be or could be carrying out an attack regardless of the ceasefire. Why? Because in Iran's previous attacks, they have been in relation to something with Iran, something primarily with Iran. With the first attack in April, it was the attack on the consulate in Syria. With the attack in October, it's for a targeting in Tehran. Now, Iran also added, when they carried out the operation, it's as revenge for or reaction to Israel attacking in Tehran and the assassination of course, Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, and then the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Said Hassan Nasrallah, and also the people of Gaza. They said all of that, but it was an attack on Iran. Now, they do have that too, regardless of anything that happens in Gaza or in Lebanon, because from an Iranian perspective, to protect Iranian sovereignty, Iranian deterrence, and Iranian dignity, they have to respond to the genocide state. And if they do respond, they need to make it a severe response. Israel does not understand anything but force, and Iran would have to make it a very significant response. They can't just say, oh, look, a couple of missiles here. They need to actually implement something really big so that they can have the deterrence back and keep the equation as it was after their second attack. Because don't forget, we're talking about setting a precedent here. Israel's trying to set a precedent with everything that they do. We can attack, but we won't be attacked. We can kill you, you can't kill us. We can attack everywhere, no one can attack us. All of that has been completely demolished in the past 14 months. Israel has been attacked from multiple parts, from Gaza, from Lebanon. It has been attacked from Yemen, from Iraq, and from Iran. And they have been attacked heavily. And they have become the punching bag of the region. No one is intimidated by them. And because no one is intimidated by them, and because they're cowards, and because they're failing miserably on the ground, they resort to psychologically instilling fear in people that, no, we will get our way, we will break ceasefires, we will occupy more territories in Syria, and we will threaten the whole world. And this is the new era of Israel. A barking dog, a barking little dog that has no intimidation over the people of the region. That is the state of Israel right now. And it wasn't only the IRGC, also the Supreme Leader himself. He said Israel will be eradicated. Israel will be eradicated. These people are full of faith that Israel is just a cancerous tumor that needs to be removed. And the thing with the Iranians that is very unique to the Iranians is the fact that these people talk the talk and walk the walk. They say it as it is when it comes to the genocide state, and they act upon it. And judging by the previous attacks that they landed on Israel, especially with True Promise 2, they are indeed serious about what they're talking about. But they're also very calculated and very strategic in their thinking, and also consider the political objectives they want to achieve through their attacks, and consider the fact that they can achieve these political objectives that are detrimental not only for Iran but also other people in the region. Well, without attacking too. This is the thinking of Iran. Iran is a very strategic player, and all of their moves are very calculated. And again, judging by what they've said so far, no, we will be seeing an attack from Iran at one point. However, not before they try and exhaust everything when it comes to their demands in the region and the political objectives while reaching a ceasefire and doing everything. And the final thing that I want to talk to you about is the comment that came from Donald Trump regarding Syria. Now, I've been talking about a feud that's been happening between the United States and Turkey. Many people would say, oh, no, of course not. How can this happen? Turkey and US are allies. Both of them are NATO. And again, I will repeat, things can be different between countries who are members of one organization. In Syria now, we have de facto fighting between Turkish-backed forces and US-backed forces. And both the United States and Turkey are acting inside of Syria to support the side that they want to win in the battle. But what does Donald Trump have to say? Because what Donald Trump has to say is very important, because this man is going to be the next United States president. And he's a man who previously withdrew troops from Syria. And he's been talking about ending the wars. So here's what he said, and I'll share that with you in relation to Turkey and Syria.
Yes. Mr. President, can I ask you a question about the drones? Pulling them when you get into office, or will you? Well, you know, we had 5,000 troops along the border, and I asked a couple of generals, so we have an army of 250,000 in Syria, and you had an army of 400,000. They have many more people than that. Turkey is a major force, by the way, and Erdogan is somebody I got along with great, but he has a major military force, and his has not been worn out with war. It hasn't been worn out with all of the other things. I mean, he's built a very strong, powerful army. And so we have 5,000 soldiers in between a 5 million person army and a 250,000 person army. And I asked the general, what do you think of that situation? He said, they'll be wiped out immediately. And I moved them out and I took a lot of heat. And you know what happened? Nothing. I saved a lot of lives. Now we have 900. They put some back, but 900, if you're talking about two, now one of the sides has been essentially wiped out, but nobody knows who the other side is. But I do. You know who it is? Turkey. Okay? Turkey's the one behind it. He's a very smart guy. They've wanted it for thousands of years, and he got it. And those people that went in are controlled by Turkey. And that's okay. It's another way to fight. But no, I don't think that I want to have our soldiers killed. But I don't think that will happen now anyway, because the one side's been decimated.
Mr. President, what have you about the drones?
Concerned about more unrest in that region, or do you think it will calm?
Well, nobody knows what the final outcome is going to be in the region. You know, nobody knows who really the final. I believe it's Turkey, and I think Turkey is very smart. He's a very smart guy, and he's very tough. But Turkey did an unfriendly takeover without a lot of lives being lost. I can say that Assad was a butcher. What he did to children. You remember I attacked him with the 58 missiles, unbelievable missiles coming from ships 700 miles away, and every one of them hit their target. But I did that. That was the red line in the sand. Obama drew it, and then he refused to honor what he did. He said, if anybody goes across the red line, and Assad killed many more children after that, and Obama did nothing, but I did. I hit him with a lot of missiles. In fact, President Xi was sitting here the night he was in that dining room having chocolate cake. Remember the famous chocolate cake? But and that's when I explained what we were doing as the missiles were shot. And it was amazing as to precision, because every one of those missiles hit its target from a long distance away. Had President Obama
I mean, that was the main part that I wanted to share with you, especially in relation to Turkey and the fact that Donald Trump doesn't appear to be very excited or moved by the prospect of adding any more forces in the region, despite the fact that the United States have had forces inside of Syria, well, their own forces, and then forces supporting the SDF. Under any excuse, really, they would have the excuse of Bashar al-Assad. Now they would have the excuse of ISIS. Under any excuse, they can have certain presence inside of Syria. But the fact that Donald Trump is saying that, and the fact that he was saying that it's an unfriendly move by Turkey, all of these things indicate that, well, there are differences in the view on Syria when it comes to the United States and Turkey. Like other countries inside of NATO had different views on an individual basis when it comes to Ukraine. These things happen and people need to understand that. And judging by what the tone is coming from Donald Trump, it does not look like, at least from the statements, that he will be increasing or escalating further when it comes to Turkey. The things that we have been seeing in the past few days in Turkey is that more SDF-controlled territories in northeast Syria that are backed by the United States are now being liberated by the Syrian National Army, backed by Turkish forces, Turkish Air Force and Turkish weapons, Turkish intelligence. And there are internal revolts in areas that are controlled by the SDF, coming from the Kurdish population and the Arab population inside the region, to, that's it, live under one country, one government in the form of Syria, without the need to rely on any external force and without serving any foreign agendas apart from those who are for Syria. And these were the main things that I wanted to talk to you about in this video. As usual, I hope I shed some light as to what's happening, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone.